Yes guys, how's it going? Welcome back to a new video and the second episode of a new mini-series on the channel. Today we will be talking about the Newcastle United striker situation. In the last video we spoke about the centre-back situation, and I do also want to cover full-backs, wingers, midfielders, goalkeepers, but today it is about the strikers. We are going to talk about the current strikers at the club, but then also what we could go looking for in this transfer window to try and bolster our striker options, and also touch on what kind of formations we want to play going into the new season. Now, obviously at the moment, Eddie Howe prefers the single striker. Could that potentially change depending on what signings we bring in this summer? We'll get into all of that, and as always, if you do enjoy this video, drop a like, and if you are enjoying this series and don't want to miss the next episode, be sure to hit that subscribe button. As I've just mentioned, Eddie Howe preferred a single striker formation for the majority of the season, and I don't think it's much of a competition on who is the preferred striker at Newcastle at the moment. It is Callum Wilson, the man who finished as top goal scorer for the club with 8 goals in all competitions. So our top goal scorer didn't reach double figures. It just shows how much we need to try and add some firepower to the squad this summer. And I'm not taking a dig at Callum Wilson. In fact, his goal-to-game ratio is brilliant. He played 18 games, scored 8 goals. That's almost a goal every 2 games. The problem, though, is exactly that. He only played 18 games. He started 16 and basically has an injury issue. We've known about this for a while. I genuinely think if Callum Wilson could stay fit, his ability is up there with some of the top strikers in the Premier League. You talk about England having a bit of a nightmare at the moment. I genuinely think he could be an answer to that. The problem, however, is he does have that injury issue, and we're going to talk about the strikers a little bit more going into this summer, what we need to try and build. If Callum Wilson could be guaranteed fit for every game next season, this conversation's so different. It really is. We are almost banking on the fact that at some point he will get injured, and we want to be prepared for that, which is not a great way to look at things, but it's the way it's been for a few years now, and that's what we need to prepare for. The number 2 striker behind Callum Wilson, who played 17 games this season and scored just 2 goals, one of them being a penalty, is Chris Wood, the man Newcastle brought in the January window for £25 million. It was a rushed buy. We needed a striker. Callum Wilson was injured and we needed to bring someone in through the door. Ultimately, if you want to look at figures only, he scored 2 goals in 17 games for a striker. Doesn't sound great, does it? One of them was a penalty, but the 2 goals he did score were very important goals. And I will also add that he was still part of that team that helped us stay in the Premier League. We talk about Callum Wilson scoring those goals, but Chris Wood was a part of that team for the majority of the second half of that season. So although he didn't score a lot, he certainly did enough to help us achieve our goal in staying in the Premier League. I think Chris Wood is a bit 50-50 with most fans. I will stand by if a club came in and offered us 25 million to take him off us this summer, then I would say yes to it, and I would look for us to reinvest that somewhere else this summer. But ultimately, he came in, he did a job. It's very unlikely he's going to leave this summer. He only got here in January, and he's clearly working hard. You know, he's scoring goals for New Zealand, their all-time leading goal scorer now. So we know he can score goals. I'm just hoping it's taken a little bit of time to get used to Newcastle's formation, Eddie Howe's style of play. Really, St. Max and Almiron weren't great at crossing the ball in. Trippier was injured, so he couldn't cross the ball in. I don't know if he necessarily suits a single striker formation because he's not quick, he can't chase the ball. I don't think our style of play suited Chris Wood, to be honest. And is that because Chris Wood needs to adapt? Is that because we need to change the formation? We will get onto that in this video. And the final striker, the third striker on the books at the moment, is Dwight Gayle, the man who a lot of people say is fantastic in training, apparently, but never actually gets any game time, has struggled in the Premier League, has struggled to get in the side. I will still say that his best season was probably the one when he joined in 2016 and helped us get from the Championship to the Premier League, and ever since that day has really struggled to get any game time. It really shows, despite what positivity has come out from Eddie Howe about Dwight Gayle and how much effort and how good he is in training, when Callum Wilson got injured, before we bought Chris Wood, we were still opting to play St. Max as a false nine. So even when Gayle was the only fit striker at the club, he did not play. So for me, Gayle is very likely to be leaving this summer, whether that's a loan, whether that's a sale, or whether he's just left out of the squad full stop. So for me, it looks like we will be entering the season with Callum Wilson and Chris Wood. What do we need to change in this transfer window? What do we need to add in this transfer window? And it is clear that Eddie Howe and the new owners want to strengthen that striker position because we are linked with a whole host of strikers. I will name a few just as an example, one of which is Hugo Ekitike, the man who, if you were watching this in a week or two's time, hopefully we've already signed. But just again, using his attributes as an example, he's only 19 years old, he's the highest goal scorer for any teenager across the top 5 leagues in Europe, so he's bringing a lot of firepower in. He's not hugely experienced. This is his real first season at senior football with Rems, and by all means put a few goals in the net for him, which is cracking. But what he's also bringing is that youth. He's bringing a bit of youth to Newcastle. Wilson 30, Chris Wood 30. We're bringing someone in who is an up-and-coming talent, is very quick, he's dynamic, he's versatile because he can play on either side. Again, if it's not Hugo Ekitike, just that model of a player, someone who's coming in, young, upcoming, can add goals this season, but as much as anything else, is one we want to see flourish with the side over the next couple of years. Now, again, if Wilson was to get injured and Chris Wood came in, where would Ekitike fit in? Well, I definitely think he would go in second choice behind Wilson. The question is, however, it would be his first year in English football. And we are then, again, going back to what we talked about this season, which was when someone wasn't having a good game. Where are the options? Where can we bring someone else in to help get the goals? If Ekitike has a slow start and can't get up off the running, we need to be able to go, right, that's fine. Somebody else can play this game. And maybe you could do that with Chris Wood, but that's why we get on to why I think we could also do with bringing in another striker this summer. And the second type of striker that I would like to see us bring in this window, and I do have an example as a player we have been linked with, but to be honest, I don't like this link, and I would rather not see him come to the club, but I will use him because I think it's a good example of what we're talking about. It is Calvert-Lewin. The man currently at Everton who had a fantastic rise in the Premier League, scoring goals, was, thought of as the next Harry Kane in a way. The same similar play style, tall, quick-ish forward, great at heading the ball, great at putting the ball in the back of the net. He has really fell off, hasn't he? And in fairness, Everton have as a whole. So he has had injury issues as well, but again, generally, as the kind of player I think would be good to see us bring in, would be another proven goal scorer who we know can put the ball in the back of the net. Yes, if we could get them from a Premier League team, that would be brilliant. If not, we can also look abroad. It's going to be tough, though, with that one, because we've already got Wilson. You would have to bring someone in. Again, would we try and bring in someone who's matching Wilson, or again, is it just to bolster the squad? Because that's the big question. Are you going to go out and spend the big money to get a striker even better than Wilson, or are we just looking for someone to challenge that number one spot? Are we looking for someone who's more similar to sit behind Wilson? Again, this what will bring us onto the positions later, is how do we get the most out of all of these players? Do you think Ekitike is enough? Do you think we need to bring this next striker in? I do, but it causes problems, because what player is going to come in and go, okay, that's fine, I'll sit on the bench in third place behind Wilson, Ekitike and Wood? It won't be easy to have that many and keep them all content, especially if we're playing with one striker up front. But we need more options, we need more depth, and as excited as I am about a player like Hugo Ekitike, I just feel like if he comes in and has a slow start because he's a young kid, he's not used to English football, we're back to where we started. We're back to Wilson injury prone, Wood not scoring goals. So that's why a player like, and again, not him please, Calvert-Lewin could be a big help to us in the upcoming season. Now, how we prioritise that, how much we spend on that, is going to be tough, and how we convince a player to come into a side that already has 3 strikers will be tough as well. But that's my thoughts on that. How we will do it won't be easy, but let me know what you think down below. When Eddie Howe was at Bournemouth, he played with 2 strikers. That was the formation that everyone expected him to play when he got to Newcastle, but he has never had 2 strikers fit at the same time to play them together. He had, obviously, Wilson injured, Chris Wood, and then Gayle wasn't getting a shout. And then Wilson really only got fit at the very end of the season, so we've not even had the chance for Eddie Howe to potentially play with 2 up front. Now, let's be honest, we've done very well at the end of this season with 1 striker. So would Eddie Howe now change that to 2 going into the new season, even if it was what he preferred initially? Having seen the way that we've played already, will he revert back to that, or will he stick with 1? Again, as we talk about Wilson being fit, Wood being fit, young upcoming striker and potentially a more experienced striker coming in, all fit, that's 4 striker option. I could potentially see Newcastle move to a more 2 striker formation. Again, a lot of it when Eddie Howe came in was building around the fact of we need to be defensively solid as possible. We got the back 4 sorted, we got the 3 sitting midfielders sorted, and then we had the options on the wing, which again was Almirón, who tracked all the way back, and St. Max by the end of the season was just about tracking back. So we were kind of leaving that 1 striker up front on his own. I'm hoping that as we get into the new season, we're a bit more composed now. We have a bit more possession than we used to. We're going to try and bolster the team all over the pitch with new players. And if we have more of the ball, we will be less concerned with defence as maybe we were this season. And can we now utilise potentially 2 strikers up front? I reckon we might. I think that, again, in some of the big games where we know it's going to be tough to keep the ball, we'll have 1. But he's going to have to find a way to keep all of these strikers happy. And I think one of those ways is looking at playing 2. Again, you talk about Hugo Ekitike, or at least the type of player he is. Young, quick, fast, agile. He's the perfect kind of player to, again, going back to Chris Wood, really help him up front. Chris Wood is not the quick man to go and chase the ball out. Bringing someone like Ekitike in to do that dirty work for him in there would work perfectly. Bruno finished the season as the 2nd highest goal scorer for us this season with 5 goals. Now, when we brought Bruno in, he was not necessarily meant to be the goal scorer. He was the creative centre mid, if not centre defensive midfielder. But because of the way we played, and because we had that isolated number 9 up front, it meant that players like Bruno had to get out, had to attack more. And I'm glad he did, because he was great at it. But that opens up the next conversation. And again, I don't want to get into the midfielders too much, because I want to leave that for a separate video. But number 9 up front on his own. Number 10 could be Ekitike and behind. Another option, and a player we have been linked with, is Paqueta. I think Paqueta would be fantastic. Again, is that player who's kind of in the middle between that midfield and the striker. Now, a lot of what we did this season was more up the wings, and Bruno playing those fantastic finessed balls out to either side. And obviously Shelvey does the same. It would be great to have that more focal point down the middle. Now, will we go out and sign 2 new strikers and a Lucas Paqueta? No. I think it would likely be maybe a striker and an attacking midfielder like Paqueta. But either way, it's adding goals. Paqueta, did I say this already, got 11 goals for Lyon last season. So he is certainly a more attacking player and would potentially fit very nicely in that number 10 role. So again, it's not necessarily going right. We've only ever played with 1 striker. Now we're just going to plonk 2 strikers up front on their own and see what they can do. It wouldn't be that. It would be a number 9, and again, maybe that roaming number 10. You could even say someone like St. Max could potentially do something similar. Again, Paqueta would be great. I think Ekitike could fit that role as well, and then you can base it around Wilson being the number 9, Chris Wood being the number 9, Ekitike filling in around. So although it feels like if we did bring in 2 strikers, could that be overkill? I don't know. I think it could make it work. And again, for the more defensive games, we can revert maybe back to the formation we have played throughout the majority of this season. But at the end of the day, it's making options. We didn't have any options this season. The minute Wilson got injured, we had to go and buy a striker because Gayle wasn't fit enough to do it. So we went and bought Chris Wood, which again didn't quite create the goals that we wanted, but he did enough to keep us up. And again, this season we want to have a lot more options going in. If you guys did enjoy this video, be sure to click here and check out my video on the Newcastle centre-back situation. We talk about the players currently at the club and some of the transfer links we have as well. Alright guys, thanks for watching as always. Be sure to subscribe. Do not miss an episode on the channel. Daily uploads, and this series will continue throughout the summer. And drop a like if you enjoyed it as well. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.